Wuwa's 3.1 story has to be my all-time favorite story next to Furlova. There's literally only two stories in this game that made me go actually look up what I just witnessed, like what I just watched, and really take the time to dissect and understand what the story was trying to say. And I know a lot of people are not going to agree, and some people are going to agree, but I do feel like for someone who really doesn't care for stories and gacha games, Wuwa is really stepping up their game, and this really just shows that they can in fact write a very good, compelling story without having any undertones of like romantic attraction from the characters. Now, we have different relationships and bonds in the game with different characters, but this is by far clear and distinct. There is no misunderstanding and there is no underlying romance feelings for Rover. It is as clear as day that they have a parental bond between Amieth, adoptive mom or dad if you play female or male Rover, and that's basically what they are. They're family, and there's really nothing more about that. And for people who do try to ship them, despite it being clear that Rover quite literally raised Amieth, at that point it really does go into something I really don't want to talk about, and it's just weird altogether. Like, I'm all for, you know, shipping Rover with whoever you want to ship him with, but it's just clear as day that that's not the role that Amieth is portraying here, and I really like that because it puts a whole new perspective. It really does hit you in the feels. Like, not everything needs to have a romantic undertone. I know it definitely adds a little bit of interest, like with Shorekeeper and even with Camellia. You can tell there's like some underlying like feelings there, but with Amieth, it's as clear as father and daughter or mother and daughter. You know, there is no confusion, and I like how they wrote Amieth's character, where she was nothing more than just a schoolgirl, and before we knew it, she was forced into this role to be a digital ghost forever. Like, I don't know how old Amieth was before she died, but considering that she was almost about to graduate college, I'm pretty sure she must be an adult by now, in the sense like she's probably like 18, 19, 20 maybe at most. But my point is, she died pretty young, and the fact that they wrote her as this adoptive daughter towards Rover really gave us that familiar like family bond that probably a lot of people were looking for. A lot of people were saying how this was going to be like the classic trope of Rover gathering wives or husbands and stuff like that, but for once it's actually gathering their child, their adoptive child. They quite literally raised Amieth from the ground up, I guess, and made her into who she is today. And it made me even care about Rover more as a person rather than just them being the MC or just the hero of the world. It's basically the same situation with Amieth in the sense that they both were forced into roles that they not necessarily thought they would see for themselves. Like, obviously Amieth wanted to save the world, but she never thought she would be saving the world in this way. And it was something that she really didn't have a choice in the matter, if that makes sense. Like, she was quite literally stripped of her existence. She no longer has a physical body, and there's people who still aren't really aware of her presence. This girl has been gone for over 10 years at this point. Like, it's been 10 years that this girl has been missing. No one has any idea where this girl went, if she's alive, or like no one can find an actual body. So they can't even quote unquote confirm her death, considering that they can't find a physical body because her physical body was quite literally destroyed in the exostride and everything like that. But the way they wrote her story was very much compelling, and it really made me want to take a moment to really dissect Amieth's character and understand why she does the things that she does, which is ultimately to protect Rover at the end of the day. What she's sacrificing is to protect them at all costs, which I just feel like mirrors Rover in such a beautiful way. They are willing to quite literally give up and sacrifice so much for the people that they care about and love. And I just really loved how this story portrayed how much Amieth really does care about Rover as more than just someone she came across, but just as someone who looked after her, raised her, protect her, saved her. You know, she wants to almost in a way repay that favor. And even with Rover, how they were forced into a role that they not necessarily had a choice from, and that they're not from Solaris, which I think was very much apparent when we first came to Solaris. Like, they weren't really from here, but we don't know anything about Rover. Like, we don't know where Rover originally came from. We also know that Rover wanted to go home, but unfortunately they were banned from their homeland or their home planet, and they're unable to go home. So I don't know if once Rover completes his quote-unquote mission that he'd be able to be permitted to go back home, or he's just permanently banned from his home planet. And it makes me question, like, why was Rover specifically the one chosen for this task or this mission? Why was Rover the one who had to take on this burden that they didn't necessarily have an option to decline or accept? It also makes me wonder more about Rover's background. What was his home planet like? What is his home planet? Like, what's it called? And I'm sure Rover's home planet had a civilization, so there was probably more options. So what made Rover the optimal choice for this mission? Why was Rover chosen to take on this task? Because it was kind of stated that Rover, ever since birth, was set on a mission to basically save Solaris and defeat the Lament and all this stuff. And that was really something that, for the most part, at first was like against his own will. And all Rover has been trying to do was to get home, to try to get back home to their home planet. Like, they do not belong here, but they were literally forced onto this descended planet against their will. So that makes me definitely more curious about Rover and their story, to really understand like their role in this whole thing. Like, obviously the role is to be the quote-unquote hero, to save everyone, but what is Rover's underlying like longing, like mission, like personal mission? I feel like it really does make a character 3D when they have their own personal goals and then they have their life goals. So obviously Rover's life goals is to protect and be the hero of Solaris, but the personal goal of Rover is to get back to their home planet, and we're not even sure where that's at or if that's even possible for Rover even after the mission is complete. And this is the second time Rover has been unable to save someone, and it truly hurts the most because this is more than just a friend or anything. This is his family, this is his daughter, this is their child. And the fact that as a parent figure he was unable to save that child really hurts. And I just feel like in this story you could see a lot of Rover's mixed emotions. It was a roller coaster for emotions for Rover, and you can tell towards the end of the story that it really hit the most, especially when Amieth was no longer there and it was only the husk or the shell of what she used to be or whatever is left, and she's no longer, like, her soul is no longer present. In the way that the husk of Amieth was basically saying like, don't be sad, and you can almost see Rover kind of like tearing up or like welling, or just, I don't know how to describe it. It was so sad, but at the same time we know that Amieth is not gone. Like, she's not like permanently removed from this world. It was the same thing with Furlova. Like, she's not permanently removed from this world. Obviously she's no longer physically present, but she's not like permanently gone, you know? And I don't even think anybody is permanently gone, even if they're no longer physically here or their physical body is no longer here. I do feel like they're still with you in your heart, and those are the only two characters that I can think of that Rover was unable to save and or protect. I feel like Furlova was kind of like a predetermined destiny. Like, that's kind of the role that she wanted. Like, this is what she wanted. She didn't necessarily want to be saved in a way, while Amieth, regardless if she wanted to be saved or not, didn't really matter, because it was such a really sad story. And I really did feel for Rover in the story. I don't know, this story really did make me emotional with all the cutscenes and all the intense back and forth 4th. I don't know if you haven't, I know this is a little late, but if you haven't read it or if you haven't played the story, spoiler alert, but there was a lot that was packed into this, and I love the relationship that they made between Rover and Amiev. Instead of this waifu type of vibe, it was very clear cut that this was a family, and I love that. Like, it just shows that Kuro really can write a character, they can write a story without having these very underlying tones of like potential romantic relationships and stuff like that. Like, it was clear that this was their relationship, regardless if you see them as a parent figure or like brother and sister or sister and sister or something like that. At the end of the day, they are family, and that's as clear as it's going to be. But I just want to hear your thoughts and opinions on the 3.1 story. What do you guys thought about it? What was your favorite part about it? What was a sad moment that you felt was really impactful? I'm very curious. There's only a very select few stories in gacha games altogether that really make me feel sentimental and make me care about the characters and the story. So, and this is definitely one of them. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys all in the next video. Bye bye.